Close your eyes and imagine this. You wake up in the morning. Where does the food on your table come from? The rice paddies in Asia, the wheat fields of North America, or the coffee plantations of South America? You turn on your phone. Was it assembled in a factory or designed by engineers in a tech city halfway around the world? You walk outside and see shops, banks, schools, and hospitals. All of these everyday things are part of something bigger, the global system of how humans make a living. This is economic geography, the story of how people use land, resources, skills, and ideas to shape economies and livelihoods across the planet. Before we dive deeper, ask yourself these questions. Why do some countries grow crops while others build cars? How does global trade link distant cities and villages? And why do gaps in wealth and opportunity exist between rich and poor places? Economic geography is a branch of human geography that explores how economic activities are distributed across space, what natural and human resources influence these activities, how trade connects regions, and why economic inequality exists within and between societies. Together, these concepts help us understand how people earn, trade, consume, innovate, and thrive in a rapidly changing world. Let's begin with types of economic activities, the basic building blocks of every economy. At the heart of any economy are the primary activities. These involve extracting and harvesting natural resources directly from the earth. Farmers growing rice in the Ganges Delta or wheat in Kansas, miners digging copper in Chile's Atacama Desert, fishers catching tuna off Japan's coast, and loggers harvesting timber in Canada's boreal forest are all doing primary work. In many developing nations, primary activities still employ a large portion of the population. In sub-Saharan Africa, agriculture, forestry, and fishing made up more than 15% of GDP in 2018. Yet in developed regions like North America, they contribute less than 1% of GDP, reflecting technological differences and economic structure. Here's a surprising fact. Even though primary sectors contribute a smaller share of GDP in wealthy countries, they often provide the raw materials that power global markets like African cobalt for batteries or Brazilian soybeans for livestock feed. Next are secondary activities where raw materials are transformed into goods. This is manufacturing and construction, making cars in Detroit, electronics in Shenzhen, clothing in Dhaka, or steel in Germany. Factories and plants are the heartbeat of industrial economies. Secondary activities add value to raw materials, turning a lump of iron ore from a mine into a shiny car that drives down a city's street. Then we have tertiary activities, the service industries that make modern life possible. Teachers, doctors, hotel workers, bankers, software developers, and retail workers are part of this sector. Services in tourism alone contributed over 27% of global trade in 2024, growing faster than goods in many regions. Fun fact, in many wealthy nations, over 70% of the workforce is employed in the tertiary sector, compared with deeply rural economies where agriculture still dominates jobs. As economies evolve, some also include quaternary sectors, focusing on knowledge, research, and information services like coding, scientific research, data analysis, and consulting. Cities like Silicon Valley, London, and Bangalore are global hubs for high-tech and quaternary work. Now, no discussion of economic geography is complete without talking about natural resources, because resources like fertile soil, minerals, forests, oil, and water shape where people live, what jobs they do, and how economies grow. Resource-rich countries like Saudi Arabia with oil, Australia with minerals, and Brazil with agricultural land often use these assets as economic engines. But relying too much on one resource can make economies vulnerable, for example, when commodity prices fall. Papua New Guinea gets about 28% of its GDP from natural resource extraction, such as mining and petroleum. Yet most of its population still relies on subsistence agriculture. A fun and practical way to see this is your morning routine. The metal in your spoon, the electricity that charged your phone, the coffee you drink, and even the wood in your breakfast table all started as natural resources somewhere on Earth. Now let's expand this to a bigger scale with trade and globalization. Trade is the exchange of goods, services, and capital between countries. Globalization means economies are interconnected. If you've ever bought a t-shirt made in Bangladesh or an iPhone assembled in China, you've participated in global trade. In 2024, the global value of trade in goods and services reached over US $32 trillion, with services growing particularly fast. China is a striking example. As the world's largest exporter, it trades with over 120 countries and maintains huge trade surpluses that fuel its economy and factories. Meanwhile, the United States remains a major trading power, with the US dollar used in about 60% of international trade transactions, revealing how currency and trade interconnect. Trade and globalization bring products to our shelves and services to our screens, but they also spread technology, ideas, and culture. A village in Kenya might use tractors invented in Detroit. A student in Manila might study online with professors in Madrid. A coffee grower in Colombia might export beans to cafes in Tokyo, all part of the same global economic system. But globalization does not benefit everyone equally, leading us to economic inequality, one of the most urgent issues in economic geography. Global inequality refers to how income and wealth are distributed among people and nations. Economists use measures like the Gini coefficient, where higher values indicate higher inequality. Recent data shows that inequality remains high in many parts of the world. While some nations have lower inequality, others have extreme gaps. Globally, wealth concentration is astonishing. A recent World Inequality report found that fewer than 60,000 people, 0.001% of the global population, control 3 times more wealth than the bottom half of humanity combined. The richest 10% own 75% of global wealth, while the bottom half owns just 2%. In specific countries, inequality varies. For example, Zambia has a Gini coefficient as high as 70, indicating extreme inequality, while Norway's is around 17, reflecting more even income distribution. Economic inequality affects health, education, opportunity, and even politics. In 2026, reports highlighted how billionaire wealth surged to record highs, even as poverty persists for billions. Inequality can influence policy, access to services, and social mobility, and it connects back to how economic sectors develop and who benefits from globalization, jobs, and trade. So why is it important to learn about economic geography? Because it connects every part of your life. When you learn about economic activities, you understand where your food and goods come from. When you study trade and globalization, you see how distant economies connect to your everyday choices. And when you explore economic inequality, you understand how opportunities and resources are unevenly shared across the world. 1. Your smartphone likely contains metals mined from several continents, plastics from yet other regions, and software developed by teams around the globe. 2. Coffee might be grown on a small farm in Ethiopia, processed in a mill, shipped to Europe, roasted in Italy, and brewed in your kitchen. 3. The service sector now accounts for the majority of GDP in most high-income countries, often more than 70% of economic output. 4. Some countries export more than all of their own manufactured goods. Combined, for example, Luxembourg's trade exceeds 300% of its GDP because of its open financial services and exports. 5. Global trade barriers, like tariffs, can change how goods move, as seen in recent trade tensions between major powers. 6. Richer countries adopt automation and AI faster, which can increase productivity but also widen inequality unless workers are reskilled. 7. The Belt and Road Initiative links dozens of countries through infrastructure that boosts trade and economic ties. 8. Some nations rely on a single export commodity like oil or copper, making them vulnerable to price changes. 9. Micro, small and medium enterprises provide up to 90% of jobs in many developing economies. 10. E-commerce and digital services have created entirely new industries, reshaping geography and jobs in ways unimaginable just decades ago. Learning economic geography helps you see patterns and systems that affect jobs, sustainability, climate, and human well-being. It helps you understand that space, people, and economic choices are deeply connected. It reminds us that behind every product is a story of people, places, and connections that span continents. So next time you enjoy your favorite meal, buy clothes, book a flight, or use an app, remember this: you are part of a global economic journey shaped by geography, resources, trade, and human ingenuity.